Hey, Cheyenne. Hey, Cheyenne, that was nice. That was very nice of you. Thank you. Hey, Darlene. Hey, Russell. Hey, Mad Mike. Hey, Steve B. Hey, Mel. Anthony, Tommy, Tom, Bobby. Nice to see you. Steve O. Julie. Hey, Renee Herman. How you doing? Evening, everyone. Guys, I'll tell you, I had a very busy weekend. As many of you know, we had. Why do I look so weird? I look like I'm wearing pancake makeup or something. What is that? Oh, yeah, I hit the Gold Coast effect by accident. So that's gone now. Hey, Vanetta. So, guys, as many of you are aware, I had a very busy week. That's the last thing we want. I had a very busy weekend, as many of you know, and I'll tell you, I was not productive today, as you can see from the couple of videos that I put out there. If you're asking to join the live, if you're asking to come in the box, as they say, hey, Kent, I can't do it. Just can't do it, man. We don't have the bandwidth here in Kyiv. We've tried it a bunch of times. Every time we do, the live just crashes. Hey, Joe, what do you know? Nice Taylor ham and egg on a bagel there in the Peter's Peeps groups I saw the other day. Made my mouth water. Hey, Ballerina. How you doing, brother? Darren? Yeah, no, thank you for reminders of home. It is a powerful reminder of home, boy. Some people know I finished my Tabasco. My habanero Tabasco is gone. It was so good. Deeply appreciate it. So, guys, I think we're going to do a short one tonight. I did a kind of frontline update today, which I haven't done in a long time because it's terribly depressing doing those frontline updates these days. The Russians just keep throwing everything they have at the front line. They're eliminated by the hundreds with their equipment. And the Ukrainians just keep holding them at bay for the most part. Now, there are areas where these meat grinder waves overwhelm the Ukrainians. We saw that a couple of weeks ago where those 3 Ukrainians surrendered and were summarily executed, right? Disarmed and then summarily executed. Kim San, the weather is dreadful. I think that's part of why I was so unproductive today. It's cold and rainy. It's seasonal, right? It's very seasonal. But it is cold and rainy today here in Kyiv. I think it's maybe 48 out and it's raining, and it's been raining on and off all day. It's a typical spring day. And it's been very warm and dry here. Very warm and dry here. It's amazing to me that, now, of course, it shouldn't be amazing because it's 1,000 miles away. But out farther in the east of Russia, central Russia, the eastern parts of Russia, they're experiencing a lot of flooding as the winter snow melts. Well, thank you, Ukraine. if only you spoke for the whole country. That's your kind words are deeply appreciated. Thank you. What a handle, huh? Ukraine. I'll have to take a look at that. I didn't see that post on the Peter's Peeps group. Well, you're in Jersey, right, Dark Irish? That's about right for Jersey this time of year. 55 one day, 84 the next. You don't know whether to go to the beach or Philadelphia. 18 Celsius. We had it hit 20 I want to say 29 Celsius. Is that a thing? Yeah, it was almost 80 degrees. That's right. It was 29 Celsius here in Kyiv. I want to say on Tuesday last week. The flooding into Kazakhstan is also very bad. Yeah, that protective dike really, its loss is a big loss. It's an environmental disaster and a human disaster that nobody's taking any responsibility for. And it's a problem because normally you'd call in the army, right? Well, there's no army to call into, right? They're all busy. Hey, thanks, Tom Weber. I'm glad. Who were you talking to that said that the show was good? John Kennedy. Oh yeah, John Kennedy. Wow, what a guy he is, huh? He is a hell of a guy. He's a good sport too. If you watch the video of the show, Putin's not going to visit the flood zones, Bobby. Don't be silly. Whatchamacallit? Ha ha ha. It's a damn shame what's happening in Russia with all that flooding. It's a damn shame. I should do a video with that tagline. But Tom, John Kennedy is a great guy. If you watch the video of the show, the full show is posted on YouTube. Hey, Michael. And if you watch the video of the show, John actually came up on stage and let us make fun of him. And he was a real good sport about it. For those who do not know, I started a little comedy, stand-up, and improv company with some Ukrainians here in Kyiv. And we're the only comedy improv group doing comedy in English. At least improv comedy. There's one stand-up group that we're all going to tomorrow, actually, in Kyiv that does it in English. So we had a show last night. It was our second live performance. It was very well received. We had a very sympathetic audience, and the feedback was commonly quite good. Hey, Jason Willis-Starn. Everybody, Jason Willis-Starn is here. Jason is the sponsor of tonight's live. Let's all give him a thank you. I literally could not do this without the sponsors' help. It's a big deal. And, of course, the Patreon supporters. Without the Patreon, I don't know where I would be. Not at all, Jay. I literally couldn't do it without you, pal. And everybody else, right? Ballerina, Fitzy, Bobby, Eli. I don't know if Eli's here. Eli is a big supporter of the channel. I'm deeply grateful to Eli. And the list goes on, the list goes on. And all those people that regularly contribute, they get video sponsorships. So you'll see me shout out to them at the end of videos every month. But it was a busy weekend, boy. I was exhausted today. That and the weather, I was not very productive. So I don't have much to talk about. The attack on Bilahorivka. Thank you, Bobby. The attack on Bilahorivka was, watching the video of that attack, it was just horrific. I mean, it was horrific. By 6 hours into the fighting, the ground looked like the stage at the end of Hamlet, where everybody is it's just bodies strewn everywhere. It's a nightmare. Did I see the news about the disbandment of the 67th Brigade? I didn't. I don't know anything about that. I also don't No, yeah, that Chalk Hill is a nightmare. I don't know anything about a missile attack in Crimea at this time. I've been meaning to do a video about it for 3 days, but with the weekend, I just couldn't get to it. They did hit the electronics manufacturing plant in Luhansk. In Luhansk. So if you guys remember, about this time I want to say it was about this time last year. It might have been a little bit earlier. The Ukrainians hit an electronics manufacturer in Luhansk that was producing, I think, motherboards and chipsets for drones and that kind of thing. And they hit it with storm shadows. It took them a year to rebuild it. And 2 weeks before it was ready to go back online, they hit it again and destroyed it. And that's the reason, hey, Travis, and that's the reason I haven't done a piece yet on that railroad. You might have heard that the Russians have built a railroad from Rostov-on-Don down to Mariupol. Now, my understanding is that it is open, that it is taking some light traffic, right? But it's not quite complete. The only thing is, I'm not reporting on it because I know any day now the Ukrainians are going to blow it up. And so I'm just waiting to report on it until the Ukrainians make it worthless, which will happen probably any day now. Right? I mean, that's what's going to happen. Dead family reunion. I love a dead family reunion. What else is going on, guys? What's going on in the world at large? Now, I was a little bit persnickety the other night about, hey, Feisty. Thank you very much. Laugh is like a fingerprint. I was a little bit titchy when somebody brought up the Iranian strike. They said that hundreds of missiles and drones were on their way. And I said, no, they aren't. And I was wrong, right? I think it was 100 ballistic missiles, 30 cruise missiles, and 195 drones, something like that the Iranians sent from their own territory against Israel. And that's the thing, 99% were intercepted, which means if Israel just takes the win, we won't see this broaden into a broader conflict, I don't think. A comedian said, why do they always have the best parties after we're gone? So we'll see what happens with Israel's response. But more importantly, someone asked the question, could this attack by Iran move the needle in the United States on the foreign aid bill? And I don't have a good answer to that yet. So I'm going to try to look into that in the next couple days and see if whether or not what's happening with Israel and Iran are affecting the odds of getting the foreign aid bill to the floor of the House. Joe is saying no. You may be right, Joe. I mean, Mike Johnson is definitely playing a game of his own, devising. And, everybody thought that he was going to be the MAGA whip. But instead, he's the one that's leashed the MAGAs. So he's gone a long way. He's a savvy political creature who is interested, I think, more in his own career and future than in anything else. And I think we saw that demonstrated with his trip to visit Trump last week, because he had no need to go to see Trump. No need whatsoever. What's your opinion on Russia's progress so far with all the minor progress they're making in the East? All that minor progress is, of all the analysts that I listen to, Dennis, are saying that it's a real concern. That while right now it's incremental, and while the Ukrainians have built new fortifications behind which they are able to dig in and keep the Russians at bay, the Russians do make these incremental advances. Gray zones turn into forward positions. Forward positions turn into advances. And the total land taken, even including all of Avdiivka, amounts to a hill of beans. It's 500 square kilometers. It's nothing. Nothing. And look at what it has cost them. And I think, too, that we're getting to a critical tipping point. Because I just saw statistics that the number of consumed, destroyed howitzers, for example, artillery, let's say artillery pieces, combined, self-propelled, and towed. The Russians have now lost 77% of their Soviet stockpiles. 77%. The same is true of the tanks. Something like close to 77, 80% of the tanks. If that is accurate, that could explain why we are seeing all of these meat wave assaults of infantry on foot, and why we're now seeing the Russians attempting to drive soldiery, not in APCs, not on tanks, to the contact point, but on trucks, unarmored, undefended, unarmed trucks. We've seen this now at least twice in the last 48 hours. It makes no sense unless it's all you got. If you want to spot a fake, Alan, I don't know what that means. You must be having a sidebar with somebody else. Is NATO taking up shortfall in ammunition to Ukraine? Peter Pavel, who I think is the president of Czechia, not the prime minister, right? I think he's the president of Czechia. He put together an initiative to provide Ukraine with 1.5 million shells. And it's my understanding that they've secured funding for the first 800,000. And so some portion of those should be on their way. Thank you, Herb. He's the president of the Czech Republic, or of Czechia. Did they? I'll have to look at that. Hey, Pedro the Amigo. So there's 1.5 million shells coming from the Czech initiative. And then you've got, I think it was Estonia, who found another 1 million shells somewhere else. And I guess these are mostly 155 standard NATO artillery shells. And what are they? 152 Soviet-style shells. And 122, I think, millimeter Soviet-style shells. Yes, Estonia. Woohoo! Join the team. Join the team. Yeah, guys. Saturday nights, I don't know who was responsible. Saturday nights gifts were very, very high. It was like usually the gifts on a night like this are like $3 to $8 is what it is. But it was like 3 times that the other night. So thank you for whoever that was. Daniel Ballard, how you doing? On the question of the Patriots, Germany is sending another Patriot battery. Woohoo! So the Ukrainians will now have, was that you, Tom Weber? Well, thank you. And thanks for sending John Kennedy my way. I'm gonna have to give John a live sponsorship too. It's just that I'm behind because of that 3 weeks of banning. Anyway, on the subject of the Patriots, it appears that it appears that the Germans are coming up with another Patriot system. Now, we are hopeful that somebody else, yeehaw, we are hopeful that somebody else will come up with some more, right? The Ukrainians need 7 to give a basic coverage to this large cities, especially Kharkiv. Now, I don't know where this next Patriot is going to go. My guess would be Kharkiv. I think they're the ones who need it the most. But I don't know the answer to that. And I don't have any insight into the strategic thinking of the Ukrainian military until it's in the papers. Are the Russians flying over Ukrainian-held territory? JCR, to the best of my knowledge, there is not. They are not. That they stop short of entering Ukrainian airspace virtually every time. Now, that's not true of their missiles, but it does appear to be true of their airplanes. Missiles are generally launched over the Caspian Sea or over Russian territory. Is there any resistance that's happening in the occupied territory? I haven't seen anything about it. Well, then, Dennis, you do not watch this channel, because we talk about the Atesh group and the I and the Crimean Tatars all the time, man. And they are, the I poisoned 57 commanders of the Russian Navy in Mariupol. 27 of them at a dinner all at once. 2 members of the Atesh group batted their eyelashes. 2 female members of the Atesh group batted their eyelashes at the guards on duty in Crimea at a base. And they got food and drink into these guys and poisoned, I think, 200 of them, I want to say. The Atesh group regularly releases video and GPS coordinates of targets in Crimea and other places that are then hit by the Ukrainians. The Atesh group has infiltrated Russian bases inside of Russia itself and stolen data to the tune of 2 terabytes. On Russian deployments, mechanisms of operation, personnel, etc. So there is an active, and it's not just I'm saying the Atesh group, but there's half a dozen of these groups that are active inside both Russia and inside the temporarily occupied territories. Who do you think has blown up all the local Russian installed officials? Right? It's one car bomb after another from Krinky to Kupiansk. Every week, some poor local governor or press secretary or police captain turns his car on and kaboom. That's being done by partisans in that region. So that's a good question. I guess I should do more videos about partisan activity, huh? Because that stuff definitely doesn't make the Western papers. Norman, I don't know anything about Project Phoenix. I met a guy whose call sign is Phoenix. Good guy. But I don't know anything about Project Phoenix. That's the first I've heard that term, Project Phoenix. I feel like, honest to God, Herb, right? You think of the risks that the partisans are taking. Yeah, they're looking for those launchers. Somebody made a point to me. Oh, yeah, probably another Herb. Was that Herb that said that? Whoever said that? Herb, yeah, probably another Iris-T, too, from Germany. The Germans are definitely sending a Patriot, and they may also be freeing up an Iris-T. What else was I going to say? Oh, dude, the best partisan trolling that I've seen was a Ukrainian partisan in Red Square with a Ukrainian flag and his, like, I don't know, maybe his unit identification or something, printed on the Ukrainian flag, and a picture of the card right in front of the Kremlin. It was incredible. Yeah, Norman, maybe the counterinsurgency in Vietnam that was eliminating the Viet Cong leaders is not the best example, since in the end, but it is true. It is awful hard to fight a guerrilla war. And that's the thing that nobody talks about. Yeah, Dennis, I highly recommend 20 Days in Mariupol to everybody. That's the one thing that nobody talks about in this war, is that the Russians haven't even gotten to the hard part, the peace. Keeping the peace in a country where nobody wants you there, where they all hate you and hate what you have done to them, is impossible. It's impossible. Nobody wants to, no Russian wants to be in Ukraine right now, except the true sociopaths. Now, there is a Chinese academic and politician who's an expert on Russian history, Russian culture, etc. And he has published a paper now in which he cites the 4 reasons why Russia will lose this war. Now, that's a Chinese Russian expert. That's an ally, purportedly, of Russia. And his prediction is that Russia will lose Crimea and all of the acquired territories in a stunning, stunning defeat that will cripple them and isolate them globally for a long time. Cheers, yay. Thanks, Eli. I was saying nice things about you before. Were you here then? JCR, if I'm not mistaken, there have been 18 prisoner exchanges held. Russia doesn't like doing them. Russia does not like doing them. And it's a little bit unclear why. They don't, I think part of it is that they want to keep the Ukrainians burdened with, they've now got 25,000 prisoners, I think, in custody. And so that's an infrastructure issue for them. And of course, they treat them humanely, so they all get beds and food. And that's a cost. So I think part of the thinking on the part of the Russians why they don't do the prisoner exchanges, because they don't really want their prisoners back. Their prisoners were likely prisoners in a jail somewhere, and they consider them losers, right? It's like Donald Trump talking about, I like guys that don't get made prisoner. Just complete disregard for what it takes to be out there. Yeah, that's the thing, Dive Hard. That's how they think about them, man. It's a sin. Thanks, Titch. We're doing okay. So, JCR, I think that's what's going on with the POWs. Russia's trying to burden Ukraine, and it doesn't really want its own people back. Yeah, they get treated better. Yeah, the prisoners don't even want to go back. I've seen more than one interview with a Russian prisoner of war who does not want to be returned. Nicola, I'm going to have to, I haven't actually read the article. I only read a summary of it today. And I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Well, it was something like, it was international sanctions, failures to innovate in technology and in methodologies, political isolation, something like that, and one other thing. But oh yeah, that, and Ukraine, on the other hand, has all of those things. It has a large support network of foreign powers. You look at what Lithuania is doing right now. Lithuania or Latvia? Latvia, I think. Latvia has all these thermal power plants, Soviet era thermal power plants, that it's decommissioned because it's modernized its electrical grid. And so these Soviet thermal power plants are sitting there doing nothing, right? They're decommissioned. Well, 80% of the Soviet thermal power plants in Ukraine have been taken offline by Russian bombardments recently. So the Latvians are deconstructing the thermal power plants in Latvia and boxing them up and shipping them here for spare parts for Ukraine. Nobody is looking to get Russia spare parts for anything. Nobody is sending cracking tower replacements for the ones that have burned in the refineries. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. Herb, what did Herb say that Feisty liked so much? Oh, in Ukrainian prisons, the prisoners have a real toilet. Not like at home, where you got to go out to the outhouse in the middle of February. Ugh. God. But it's true, right? 1 in 5 Russians don't have an indoor toilet because the people at the top have stolen everything for themselves. And that is really the lesson that we should be learning here in the West, guys. The concentration of wealth in the hands of the few leads to this bankruptcy of a nation and any kind of moral compass. And we're seeing it in the United States. Since Ronald Reagan turned he reduced the highest progressive tax from 70% to 28%. The compounded gains on those incomes have resulted in the creation of more billionaires than anybody could ever have imagined. No, our moral compass, the fact that we elected Trump means that our moral compass wasn't working in the first place. Because how anybody who could look at him and cast a vote for him, it's beyond my reason. Yep. Trump is just a symptom. The real underlying corrosive corruption of our democratic institutions, I believe, is the cancer of Russian disinformation and Russian money, Russian influence peddling. Woo! Has done more Cheyenne, would you be so good as to mute Thunder 1264, please? Please mute that person. Because my patience with people bad-mouthing America is a little bit short, I'll tell you right now. I banned 2 people today. I blocked 2 people today. Both of them longtime supporters of the channel. One of them a Patreon member. I refunded his Patreon. I got rid of it because he just would not stop with the anti-American bullshit. I don't want to hear it. It's not America, it's the maggots. There is a small subset of Americans who are obstructing everything that we stand for. The problem is they are doing it within the framework of our laws. Until they break a law, we cannot come down on them because we believe in the rule of law, right? That's what we're about. And if you believe in that, then you have to deal with these people. No matter how, until you can prove that they are on the take, until you can get some receipts that they are bought. You gotta deal with them. And you know what? On that point, I need to make a retraction. I need to make a retraction here because I was looking at some stuff on Mike Johnson today. I was trying to learn more about him. And, I have often said that Mike Johnson's 2018 campaign was financed by a Russian oligarch. That is true. However, according to the campaign and according to campaign records, that when the foreign connection was discovered, the campaign returned the money. Now, look, you can say, oh, he didn't return that money, he got it another way, right? He took the money somehow. But on the books, under the letter of the law, as far as we know, until you can prove otherwise, Mike Johnson didn't take that oligarch's money in 2018. So I have to retract every time I have said that. I just learned of this today. And that it worries me that all the times that Mike Johnson's name and the oligarch money has come up, nowhere have I seen that. Norman, that kind of cynicism bothers me a great deal. It's just not true. It's just not true. There are always going to be people who want to exploit the system. PT, I think you're right. I think that's the only reason he returned it is because he got caught, right? And personally, I don't think he really returned it. I mean, my personal opinion is that he undoubtedly got it handed to him under the table in gold bars or whatever, right? But until we can prove that, we can't accuse him of having taken the money. Anyway, I'm with you, Anthony. As far as I'm concerned, the best way of combating Russian disinformation in the world is to give the Ukrainians everything that they need to break the Russian economy and put an end to what we think of as Russia. We can certainly say that he is a Russian sympathizer. He is clearly a Russian sympathizer. The vast majority of the money that we sent to Ukraine is being spent in the American defense sector. Thank you, Val. CNN right now, Republicans are discussing aid. I'm worried that they're going to sabotage it with some bullshit. They do believe it, Ukraine. They do believe it. And that is the problem. What we need is a better electorate. We need an electorate that takes education seriously, that can think for itself, that doesn't hate math and can take the time to learn how to do math. Maybe not because you're ever going to need the math, but because learning to do math teaches you how to think logically, not emotively, not spiritually or whatever. Why are they Russian sympathizers? Surely they don't worship the ideology. No, Divehard, I think they're purely in it for the power and the money. Power and the money. Yeah, Dark Irish, that's what worries me. I'll tell you, I don't even care if it's a loan to Ukraine, because loans can be forgiven under future administrations, right? So I don't even care about that. Just get the money. Get the weapons. Ukraine is just holding the line with the weapons that they have. $2.8 billion in defense contracts to Texas alone. That's a good number. That's good money. So as long as the weapons and the support flows, yeah, I know, dude, I know. Johnson is playing games with Ukraine. He is not sincere. I agree. And I know it's frustrating, Fitz. Believe me, I know it's frustrating, especially local politics. I mean, nothing is more petty, more backbiting, more bullshit than local politics. Well, at least you're in a union. You got some protection there. And a pension. I wish somebody would have explained pensions to me when I was a kid. All this bullshit about how much more money you can make if you go into private enterprise. I don't think Trump had much to offer Johnson, boy. He's got the speakership. He's third in line for the throne. Right, Eli? Why didn't anybody explain pensions to us, huh? Thank unions for pensions. Damn right. Well, I mean, I wish I had one. I wish I was in a union. Mother was a Teamster. Believe it or not, my mother was a Teamster. Yes, this is true. True story. Aw, Val, thanks. You just made up for the person I just fired. Don't piss me off. Oh, shit, Weibo, there's that problem. That's a problem. Mersheimer, I don't know what that is. I really do want to thank the Patreon folks, though. The Patreon just broke $1,000 a month. Which that's my rent, my utilities, basically my food. It basically covers most of my, I can't go to a dentist, but it covers most of my expenses. So it's a big deal. Somebody was a Teamster in Manhattan. Norman Roach. Nice. Val, I'm with you. I don't get it either. I don't know what is wrong with these people. Doesn't cover Uber. No, it does not. Did we find out about the kabooms on the Kirsch Bridge yesterday? I don't believe that they were on the Kirsch Bridge. They were in the vicinity of the Kirsch Bridge. And that's a problem, Nicola, because there's a lot of targets near the Kirsch Bridge. So many of the kabooms by the bridge don't have anything to do with the bridge. Remember when they took out the Ivan Krastov? Everybody thought they hit the bridge, but they had hit a ship. So Val wants to know if I have read about Russian torture of prisoners. Yeah. And that, I assure you, Val, your example is the least of it. It's inhuman. Oh, you're talking about, okay, I had heard that there was an HQ hit in Crimea, but I don't have any details. I don't have any confirmation about it. It was just something I heard or saw someplace. I heard lots of high military was present, partisans gave location, and people present, says Eli. Now, that could be Eli, but I don't have the details on it. I'm sorry. F-16 is going to take care of that bridge. I hope it doesn't last that long. Yeah, I didn't think you had a union. I didn't think you were a union shop, Bobby. But you're saying you got profit sharing because of unions. Nice. Yeah, Val, I encourage people to stay away from reading too much about that. It just, I mean, you can get video of it online these days. And I don't watch it. I don't encourage people to watch it. It's traumatic. It's traumatic. And you can sit at your computer and you can feed yourself on a diet of that shit and it will rot your brain and soul right away. Yeah, the Baltic states should worry. They are worried. That's why they support Ukraine more than anybody. Yeah, I can't either, Michael. I can't either. Please don't send it to me, guys. I don't want to see it. We know what's going on. We know what they do. We know how they are. I don't need to see it. And it's one of the reasons why you'll never see combat footage anywhere on my channel. I just don't do it. Yeah, Maddie, it's a tough one. I don't disagree. Oh, hey, Karina, how you doing? When did you slip in? Thanks for liking the live, everybody. Every night after the live, good night, Nightshade. Everybody say good night to Nightshade. Nightshade runs the Peter's Peeps Facebook group. If you are on the Book of Faces and you haven't joined us there yet, please join us over there. There's another avenue for interaction. But every night after the live, I get a text from TikTok. And it always says, your live got 96, 97, 98, 99. One time, it said 100%, which is not possible. But it said 100%, you got more likes than 100% of lives in your category for followers. Now, you can't get more than 100% of lives in your that's not a thing. But that's what the email said. I was really surprised by that. So anyway, that's all down to you guys. So thank you very much. We have 7 minutes left. I want to again thank the sponsor of tonight's live, Jason Willis-Starren. And I want to thank the best moderator team on the Tickety Top for saving me from myself every day. Thanks, Eli. Thank you, Vanetta, Cheyenne, PT, John Williams, Travis, and Jay. Thank you guys for all the help. Couldn't do it without you. Thanks to the Patreon guys. Couldn't do it without them. Jason is amazing. I assume you're talking about his hair. His hair is perfect. Can anybody tell me what song that line is from? You need merch. His brain and heart. Zevon, Warren Zevon, Werewolves of London. Nice. It's nice that everybody in here knows each other. Only thing I get from TikTok is your videos. Well, thanks, Irish. Good work, everybody. Yeah, that's Werewolves of London is one of my favorites. And I think I associated that on a subconscious level with Jason because he's a little werewolfy. Wouldn't you say Jay's a little werewolfy? Saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand, walking through the streets of Soho in the rain. Oh, Fitz, I published the full show, the full comedy show from last night. And yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of the sinking of the Black Sea Fleet's flagship, the Moskva. And so somebody in the audience, Dave Frazier, who runs aid to Ukraine and who was in town, came to the show last night. And Dave challenged us to come up with a song to commemorate the 2-year anniversary of the sinking of the Moskva. And so in short order, we had the entire audience there singing, "We all live in a Russian submarine at the bottom of the sea." It was pretty good. It wasn't bad. It was fun. Hey, Rational Squirrel. Did you see it? Did you sit through it live? Were you on the live? You didn't notice how many likes we had. I turned it off before I saw how many likes we had. Was anybody on the live last night and saw the likes? I would have liked to have known. I would have liked to have known. You know, the text just says what percentage you're in. Well, of course you were. Because you have no taste, Fitz. You have no refinement, no culture. Nobody noticed yesterday how many likes we had on the comedy show. I wish Lars had been there. He'd know. Well, kids. Hey, Dawn. No, it was not Rational Squirrel. Don't be silly. It was not 200K. You're funny. Yeah, Karina, nice of you to drop by. Always nice to see you. Thanks for checking in. Aw, Jillian, you been under the weather? I hope you feel better. All right, kids. That's about it for me. I'm going to call it a night and try to get some sleep. Thanks again to the moderators. Yeah, just download one of the videos, Karina. Make it into a ringtone. Big thanks to all of the Patreon supporters, to Jason Willis-Starren, and to the moderators. Special thanks to Lars, who runs the Discord server, and to Nightshade, who runs the Peter's Peeps group. It's a big team here, guys. And we all appreciate your support, and nobody appreciates it more than me. And because of your support, I am able to stay here in Kyiv so I can be here for you. So make it a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.